Some of them are explained right in the passage where parable starts in Matthew 24, because Jesus' disciples privately come to him. It's getting close to the end of Jesus' ministry, and there proceeds in that time to begin to explain it. But how many people have ever asked that question before? What's it going to be like at the end of the world? You think that'd be a good question to know, or the answer to, if you were a disciple of Jesus, right? I feel like Christians, not just Christians, actually humans in general, are particularly fascinated by how this world will end. And everybody's looking for answers, even people that don't believe really in God. I mean, I think everybody accepts that human life cannot go on existing the way it exists right now, the way things are headed. So somebody might believe in God's gonna, God has an end time that's going to play out, or somebody might believe an asteroid's going to hit Earth and end it all. Somebody else is like, oh, aliens are going to take over. But the reality is there's a huge industry of literature and movies that is built around our dystopian future, right? What's it going to look like when everything comes to the end? And is humanity going to destroy itself, or is God going to bring it to an end? Or is there going to be something, an extraterrestrial that's going to end it all? Or is it just nature? So Jesus' disciples have that question, and I find a lot of Christians have one of two responses when it comes to the end of the world. They either obsess about it or they dismiss it. Right? You may have met a Christian, and that's like all they talk about are the end times, and it's good to pay attention to it, but that's everything, right? There's nothing about righteous living. There's nothing about evangelism. There's nothing about growing in the fruits of the Holy Spirit. It's all about, I did my math, and Jesus could come back on Wednesday next week, right? Then there's the other kind of Christian which dismisses it, like, it'll all figure itself out when Jesus comes back. I'm not too worried about any of it. Well, I think we should be a little bit worried about it. Jesus lays out a great deal of teaching. Sure, it's shrouded in some mystery, but he gives us specific instructions that we're going to look at today. And by the way, here's a teaser for an upcoming series. I'm now saying this publicly, so it's for sure. This fall, I'll be teaching a series on the book of Revelation, okay? I've never done it before. So have some grace and patience with me, and but just so you know, now I've said it, I can't go back, okay? All right, well this parable in Matthew 25, let's read it. Let's go ahead at the top of the chapter. Jesus says, "At that time the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps, but did not take any oil with them. The wise ones, however, took oil in jars along with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep." Both the wise and the foolish, we might note, fell asleep. Everybody fell asleep. Okay? "At midnight, the cry rang out, 'Here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him.' Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish ones said to the wise, 'Give us some of your oil, our lamps are going out.' 'No,' they replied, 'there may not be enough for both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves.' But while they were on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the others also came. 'Lord, Lord,' they said, 'open the door for us.' But he replied, 'Truly, I tell you, I don't know you. Therefore,'" and this is Jesus' summary of this parable, "'therefore keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour.'" This parable is all about being ready. And if you wanted a title for this message today, it's Enough Oil, but really the subtitle is Ready or Not. Ready or not. By show of hands, how many people that are married in this room were actually ready for their wedding day? There's like 3 hands. We're going to just have an altar call for all you liars. Come on up. We just took a big shift in the message. We're not talking about end times now. We're talking about telling the truth. So I'm teasing. I was not ready for my wedding day. I mean, I knew it was coming, and it's crazy. You always get to those last couple of weeks before the wedding and it's crunch time and the last minute preparations are all coming together. And then, and we wanted to do some unique things with our wedding. Like I think most, every wedding's not going to be like anyone else's wedding. It's going to be unique. It's going to be one of a kind. Okay, so that's just how, and so you do something, and we did a few different things, right? We made handmade invitations, which took forever, and then we were going to personalize our vows to each other. So we're going to write vows, right, and not go the traditional way. We're going to have these very personal, heartfelt, meaningful vows. And Rihanna's always said, like, Jerome, are you done your vows yet? No, but I'll get to it. It's cutting close, right? And then Rihanna had this dream. She had this dream that I would sing to her as she walked down the aisle. So I was like, actually, I can do better than that. I'll write you a song, and then I'll sing that song while you come down the aisle. So all my preparations going into this, and I'm writing, a melody line, finally get it. I'm hours in front of the piano and working out the lyrics. And then I met with the lady who was playing the piano at our wedding, and she helped things, and everything's ready for the day. And it's minutes before the ceremony, and I'm waiting on the side room just next to the entrance to the sanctuary with my groomsmen, and 3 minutes to the hour, and I know that it's not going to start late because my father-in-law said, Rihanna, if you're not on time for your wedding, I'm going down the aisle without you. And I'm waiting there, nervous like a brand new groom, and in that moment, I remember I didn't write my vows. So I'm frantically asking one of my grooms, do you have a pen and a scrap piece of paper? I need to put together my vows. That's kind of important at a wedding. At my wedding. My wife had her vows ready well in advance. Nevertheless, I was not ready for my wedding day. Let me talk to you a little bit about this parable, because in this story that Jesus told, he gives an illustration of a Jewish type wedding, but it would be lost on us because the preparations and the social rituals that they had in that day are not necessarily the same as what we have today. So let's paint a picture. This is in Jesus's era. This is how a wedding might have gone down, and it was kind of typical for that time. So a young Abram is at the marketplace, and he sees a young lady who is now blossoming in her older teenage years, and looks like she might be very good marriage material, and she is from a good family stock, and her name is Havilah. And Abram says, I want to marry that girl. She's caught my eye. And we've had a couple of conversations, certainly not about marriage stuff, but about prices and value on things in the marketplace, and she seems like a frugal young woman who would make a wonderful wife. So Abram boldly approaches her. No, he doesn't approach her at all. He goes and boldly approaches his parents and says, Mother and Father, I found a woman who I'd like to marry. Her name is Havilah. And they said, oh, finally,